Do not come for me about that Lancome, okay? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go ahead and get into some favorites, kind of on the fence about, and not so favorite foundations that I currently wear. So as you guys all know, depending on your skin's needs, that'll determine what kind of foundation you pick. Obviously, if you tend to lean towards more of the oily side, you're likely to want to pick more matte foundations that keep you less oily. If you're more on the dry side, then you probably want to do things that are going to be more moisturizing. It really depends on what time of the year it is and what your skin needs at that time that will determine what becomes your favorite foundation to wear at any given time. First, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the foundations I am not so fond of because the list is fairly short. And you know what? I'm not even going to say I'm not so fond of. I just have not gotten into a routine with them that I felt like I needed to wear them continuously. If I'm not reaching for it all the time when I initially buy the product, I likely won't. And I will usually just incorporate it until the bottle is gone. But I'm having a hard time finishing the following bottles. Okay, so just so you all know, disclaimer, what I may love, you may hate. What you may hate, I may love. This is all subjective, and Nikki's not so fond of. So I don't want anybody to take these personal, especially if one of your favorites happens to be on the list. But these are foundations that I likely will not be replenishing once they're gone. The first foundation is going to be the Hourglass Vanishing, Vanish Finish, whatever they call it. This foundation just did not do it for me. Do I think it looked good? It looked beautiful, but it was not something that I found myself reaching for very often after the first few times that I wore it. And I've worn this on at least 3 occasions, and I know that's like nothing, but I'm just not feeling it. The stick, I don't know, maybe I'm more of a person, I want to pump it out, I want some liquid, I don't know what it is. But this foundation did not wow me to the point that I would be like, once this is gone, I need to replenish it. Absolutely not on that list for me. So if you're an Hourglass fan, I'm sorry, but this foundation just wasn't the it factor for me. Moving on. The next foundation that wasn't doing a whole lot for me was the Milk Makeup Foundation. As far as the color match, all of those things were good, but as you guys recall in my review, I actually, after a few hours of wearing this, became very oily, and I'm not an oily person. So I was hoping that it was the Blur Stick, but I'm gonna be frank, I never got around to wearing it again after that time because I just was like, I don't have the time to find out if this is gonna make me oily, but I'm just not impressed with this foundation to keep reaching for it. Sorry, Milk. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, well, why don't you take it back and get your money back if you're not gonna wear it? Because I know I'm gonna incorporate it in something. I will use it. I'm not a fan. Okay, let me just make this clear. A lot of YouTubers do that, where they'll go out, buy a ton of stuff, and if they don't like it or whatever the case may be, return it to Sephora. I'm gonna see it through because you never know. Halfway through this bottle, I might have a breakthrough and find out that I actually love this foundation. It could be any of those things, but for the time being, this just is not a favorite, and I am not in the business of jumping in my car, driving 50 million miles to go take this back. By the time I done drove my car over there, I done put that in the tank to get there, so I'm not even wasting my time. But no different. I just find ways to incorporate it and use it that way. So let's move on. The next foundation that I do not find myself reaching for every time I look up for is the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. Don't get me wrong, I think this is a beautiful foundation. This is certainly leaning towards more everyday wear. I do feel like it did not give me the coverage that I like to have, but it's still a nice level of coverage. You know, I'm just not impressed. Just not impressed with it to the degree that I feel like I need to repurchase this once it runs out. Once it's gone, these are gone. And with the next foundation, I know I'm probably gonna break some hearts, but I'm sorry guys, not in love with Tint at all. I think it is a beautiful foundation, don't get me wrong, but I'm not in love with it. I like it. If that makes sense. I like it, but I don't love it. Oxidized a little bit, and it kind of gave me a little gray cast after a few hours. I have to make sure I set this with a darker powder just to make sure when that shift happens that I don't look ashy or gray. That is the list of not in love with. Let's get into the I'm on the fence about foundations. I guess this one can go in the on the fence about category too. So moving into the category of foundations that I'm on the fence about, it's only really two of them, and one of them more than the other. The Urban Decay Naked Skin, the One and Done. I've stated to you guys many times, I like the foundation, but I'm just not sure. And I get that this is supposed to be, you know, a skin-like product, etc., but I do feel that the color is not where it should be. It's definitely the color that's not making me like love this, because I have to do a little work to make this color work. You know, straight out of the pump, it's okay, but I also feel like I need to add color to it to make sure that it's right. The next one that I'm on the fence about is the Peach Perfect foundation, and I'm only on the fence with this one because I feel like I can only use it with all of the peach stuff. I actually like the foundation itself. It has great coverage, all that good stuff, but I'm only on the fence of it because it doesn't interact the same with other primers and other setting powders. So that can definitely be a turn off if you run out of any of those things and say they stop making this collection, or they don't, you know, put forth any additional products for it. That can be a little deterrent, but I still like the foundation. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move into foundations that I love. Okay, so now that we're on the side of foundations that I love, let's just go ahead. There's no question about it, no question to be said. M.A.C Studio Sculpt is probably my #1 reached for go-to foundation, and no, it's not just because I am a M.A.C girl myself. It is because this foundation does for me everything I need it to do, and when I mix it with other foundations, it doesn't interfere with other foundations. Studio Sculpt #1 does have SPF 15 in it, so it does have a sun protectant. The color match on these are pretty good. My only thing with them, no different than most other color brands, I have to mix them because I have a unique color. But this, I love it because, again, because it's so dry out here in Las Vegas, this is highly hydrating and the coverage on it is amazing. So if you have dry skin and you're looking for something that gives you the coverage you want without feeling heavy, this is the one. It has like somewhat of a whipped consistency, and that's what I think my favorite part about it is because it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. So Studio Sculpt is my jam. And I usually mix my NC50 and an NW45 just to warm up that NC a little bit, because I feel like the NC50 in this specific formula is a little more sallow. So for that purpose, but we're talking about what the formula feels like on the skin, this is the one. Another favorite of mine will be the YSL Touche Éclat. And as you all know, the majority of my foundations, I actually have the primers that go with them as well. Only because, again, I believe that they are formulated to work the best alongside one another. I do like this one. This one has SPF in it also. The match on it's amazing. The coverage is amazing. The skin looks very radiant when using it. This has easily become one of my favorites that I reach for very, very often. It's just a great foundation. The primer that comes with it has that slick feel to it, but it goes away once it absorbs into the skin, and it just leaves this amazing glow. So if you get a chance to try Touche Éclat, try it. It is really, really nice. What kind of matte girl would I be without my Studio Fix Fluid? And this is in an NC50, excuse my filthy top, their #1 selling foundation. It is a medium to buildable, obviously buildable to full coverage foundation that dries down matte. You don't want to wear things that are too matte because matte clings to everything, and that is not the goal when you're trying to maintain your youthful look. So what I do love about this, #1, is, like I said, it's medium but buildable. So you can always build it up to the coverage level that you need without having to feel like you just went overboard. This is definitely a cult favorite. If you love MAC, 9 times out of 10, this is the foundation you're using. So another favorite of mine that I've been reaching for lately that I mix with my Studio Sculpt is the Fenty Beauty. I do like this one because, again, it falls into the your skin but better category. So when I use this one and I actually mix it with the Studio Sculpt, an example, that's because I want the coverage that Studio Sculpt provides, but still keep that soft matte look. I'm not too sure about everybody else saying that they received a really matte finish with this specific foundation. When I used it, I got the, again, skin but better look. It wasn't too matte, because if it was too matte, I probably would not have continued to wear it. But I think I've gone through maybe close to half this bottle now. And that was obviously getting it shortly after the launch. So I've been using this fairly regularly. It's a good foundation. I'm not gonna take that from it. Maybe people are getting that super matte look because they're not using the primer with it. I'm not sure, but this has become one of my favorite go-to foundations. Last but certainly not least, because as I mentioned, this is in no particular order, and only because I have it on my face today, I'm gonna make sure that we are fully aware of what's going on. Lately, I have been reaching for the Huda Beauty because I feel like this finish is just amazing, and it stays this way. But I'm going to tell you what I did today. Fenty Beauty with the Huda, and used a tap of Studio Sculpt to get this finish. And it is so nice. I mean, at the end of the day, I know this finish, most of the finish is contributed to the Huda. The Huda gave me this kind of finish, but it's still light. This is still full coverage, and I don't feel like I have makeup just piled on my face, and I love that about the Huda. Even with the Huda by itself, it does not feel cakey, and it is a full coverage foundation. I wanted to make sure I shared that with you guys. I just want you all to know all of these formulas, no matter what your skin type may be, are great. They are bomb to work with, and what I find works best for me is when I actually mix foundations, because then I can find a combination of finishes and staying power that work best for me. Regardless of what brand it is, out of the bottle, have I not really had to mix the formula to either get the accurate color or the staying power that I wanted. I want to say my most mixed foundation, obviously, is Studio Sculpt and Fenty Beauty. Those two have probably what I do the very most, and then between mixing the Fenty with the Huda to get, you know, looks like this, also with a tap of Studio Sculpt. Those are my favorite foundations, my on the fence foundations and not so fond of foundations. Can you guys go ahead and comment below and tell me what your favorite foundations are? Because I'm always on the hunt for a great foundation. I still have to do a review on Guerlain, but I decided instead of doing first impression reviews, unless I've worn a foundation for at least a full day, full 8 hours, that I won't review a foundation. I've decided that I want to go ahead and give foundations an opportunity to wow me by wearing them for at least a week. So that way I can say what I like about it, what I don't like about it, or if I would actually repurchase. Do not come for me about that Lancome, okay? Because I'm going to try it again and see how I really like it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with everybody else so that they can get in on what we do on this side of the fence. If you want to be notified when I upload something new, go ahead and hit that little bell below so that you can be notified when I upload a new video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.